I have resumed these discourses because I need to. I stopped because somebody was offended by my truth. If I have to be aware of people being offended because of my truth, then I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do these discourses. And perhaps that is why I stopped, is to really consider why I am doing these discourses. I am not doing it for thee, for you, for the world. I am doing it for me. It is my opportunity to talk at length about my feelings, about my observations, about my holographic perspective, or as others would call it, my soul. It is in this pure and complete understanding of what I'm doing here that I can define what my being duty is. I can also speak very directly about Christ consciousness. And not Christ because of anything having to do with Yeshua or Jesus or any other being, but because of myself. So I stopped for a reason that I needed to really consider what I was doing. I spoke of this being as talking too much, as being boastful, as not being concerned with anybody else but himself. And he threatened not to have anything to do with me anymore. That has eventually been the case anyway. And because of that, because I relented under this threat, I had to consider what I'm doing. What are these discourses? Who am I in relation to these discourses? First, I call them discursive discourses. I do that because I like the way it sounds to be dis. The double alliteration is pleasant to me. As a musician, I love sounds that repeat, that are musical. So discursive discourse sounded fun. Just as Thoth's thoughts sounds fun. It's a fun sound. But what does it mean? Discursive really means a extemporaneous adventure in ideas, thoughts, feelings. Discursive meaning going all over the place, too. The discourse is very similar to dialectic. I wanted to use the word dialectic. It was the first word that came to my mind, but I used discourse because of the double alliteration, and it seems more apropos since dialectic refers to a give and take. There's no give and take here. I'm talking. So it's a discourse. I am discoursing, discursively. And I like doing it. I like doing it because I live a solitary life. with my sweetie and with our puppy. I like solitariness. I find myself more solitary amongst people than I do alone in a lovely house on the rice paddies. I find that when I am hanging around with people, not only do they not care about anything I have to say, but they will so aggressively push their own agendas on me that I feel alone, solitary. They don't have any concern with what I have to say or what I am doing at all. They just have to sell themselves to me. I experience this in every walk of life. I experience this in you. You try to sell everything to me. You want me to buy your thing, to buy your expertise, to buy your ideas, to buy whatever it is that you are selling. I sell nothing. I sell nothing. I am. Because of that, I do not advertise, I do not push my ideas on anybody. If somebody wants to talk to me, we can have a discussion, and I listen very well. I would say listening is perhaps my highest accomplishment. I gained that because of listening to my mother, or listening to her complaints and her sadness. And my love for her caused me to be so embroiled in her feelings, I guess. Thus, I listen well to people. However, I will not seek a person out to listen to them. I will not call somebody up to listen. I will not encounter somebody in a bar to listen. I listen because somebody wants to take advantage of my ability to listen to them. And I do. And I will. But they have to ask me to do so. Forcing me to listen it just doesn't work for me. I like to be acknowledged for the skills that I have in listening. I could almost say that I could have been a good therapist. My ability to hear the music of people's feelings, the music of the feelings they're not speaking about, beneath the unveiling of self they do when they want you to listen, when they want me to listen. But what this discourse is not listening. Although I'm listening to everything around me, I hear everything while I'm talking. What it's about is me talking, me discoursing. And that is what I need right now, regardless of what you feel I should do. And if I speak the truth and it insults you or hurts you, then my intention is not to hurt. My intention is to speak my truth, to speak from my perspective, which is the only and will be the only perspective that exists like me ever in the entire infinity of existence. That is a truth, and that is interesting. To really consider what that means, to really consider and be responsible for that perspective, responsible for what that means in the universe. Since the universe is infinite, since everything is infinite, or cycling through infinity, what does it mean to have a perspective that will never ever be repeated? Because that's infinite in itself. It's an infinity in its selfness. Therefore, there's responsibility, there's a being duty about that. My being duty is to create. Thus I speak of Blake, William Blake, who I respect so much. That is one of his statements. My only duty is to create. And what does that mean? Here I am in one of the most beautiful places, looking out, looking at the volcanoes which are covered in clouds, looking at the palm trees, looking at the frangipanis, looking at the rice paddies, all the different homes with their tiled ceilings, the ganeshas, the grasses. I sit and I ponder and I create. To create is to learn. It is to learn about one's perspective, about one's being duty, about one's soul. There is no other purpose to create except that. To create, to manufacture a product for sale and wealth and fame is a complete misuse of one's time and one's perspective and one's soul. It only leads to disappointment, and that is mostly whatever one manufactures, whatever one creates, whenever that thing that one is doing to make money and fame, that will be over. And then what happened to your soul? All determined to make all this money and fame. You have not been working on it. You've been working on making money. I do not do this. I create because it teaches me all about myself. It teaches me about my weaknesses. It teaches me about my strengths. It teaches me about my feelings. It teaches me about the universe. It teaches me about the atom, the space in between the atoms, the dimensions, everything. I get nothing from the world that I cannot get from the soul. However, what the world does is it validates that truth. When I look out and I experience a flower blooming, then I recognize that in my soul. When I walk down a path singing to people, I recognize their reaction in my soul. Everything is connected. So in living this infinite perspective and soul that I am, I can find out about all things. I choose to do these discourses because I want to know more about myself. I create these discourses because I want to learn more about myself, more about the universe, more about the divine truth that I am.